Hi everybody and welcome to the Authors Armchair. My name is Elliot and in this video I'm going to talk to you about how you can go from wanting to be an author and having some basic story ideas to actually penning a completed manuscript and have it in a state ready to send to publishers or agents with the hope of it being published, or of course, if you wish, self-publishing. But follow these tips and you will have a finished manuscript. I would say that this is based on my own techniques, and by no means am I suggesting this is the only and or the best way to go. But I've experienced and experimented with different ways, and this is the only way that I have gone from original idea to completed manuscript. So here we go. I'm going to jump in and I'm just going to give you a basic course to follow, okay? So starting from the beginning to the end, which is where we finish the book. So the first thing you need to do is stage number one. Come up with a root concept or a root idea. This is the very basis of your story, and for many of you watching, if you want to be an author, you probably already have one, if not 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 basic ideas of stories you want to write. And if that's the case, then fine, you already have your root idea. But if not, and you need to come up with a concept, then this is what you do. The root idea is really just going to be any inspiration that comes to you, and it can be very basic. Really as simple as, okay, I want to write a fantasy book, and there's a female heroine who is, she wants to be a knight, and she must save a prince to do so. Okay, so it's a basic concept of just taking an old-fashioned fantasy story and turning it on its head. And that is all you need for your root idea, the very basic seed from which your story will grow. Okay, so once you have your basic idea, I can't really give you any tips on coming up with a basic idea. If you want to be an author, chances are you're a creative person, and you probably already have your own ways of coming up with basic ideas and a load of basic ideas that you already want to write into something. So let's cut it there and say you've got your basic idea, your root idea. From there, what we need to do is go into what I call full creative mode. This is probably one of the most fun parts of coming up with a story because it's much easier and less stressful than some of the parts that come later. So the full creative process, I say go get yourself a notepad. Even if you're someone who prefers to type, get yourself a notepad and a pen or a pencil and carry that around with you everywhere you go. The full creative process, the idea of this is to flesh out your root idea. So okay, using the same example story, we know we have a heroine, she wants to be a knight, which is obviously unusual because she's a girl, and yes, that sounds sexist, but we're just building on stereotypical fantasy here. That's what makes it a good story, okay? She's a woman, a girl, she wants to be a knight, and she's going to save a prince in order to do it, so we're flipping that basic stereotype. That was our root. Now, in order to flesh that out through the creative process, we need to come up with ideas of what happens next, okay? So why isn't she already a knight? Maybe she grew up in a family of academics. Maybe where she is, women aren't allowed to be knights generally. Anything like this. We're coming up with concepts, backstory, world building, if you will. Are they in England? Are they in America? Do they live in a fantasy world? Whatever that stuff is, and then, okay, in order for her to become a knight, she's got to go to a castle and save a prince from a minotaur, and there will be a battle with a vampire, and, ultimately they fall in love and she's knighted. Okay, so we've got a bit more to go on then. It's still very basic, but we've fleshed out the idea. For the creative process, for me personally, I do some of my best creation pacing. So my writing space has to have room for me to pace up and down, because that is how I create. I pace and I talk to myself and I come up with story ideas and concepts and flesh things out and think, oh, this could happen and then that could happen, and get really excited. But each of you, as a creative, as an author or would-be author, you're going to know how you best do this. Maybe you like to sit in a coffee shop. Maybe you like to go for a walk in the countryside or sit in the park or wherever it is you best create. Maybe it's in the bath. But have that notebook with you at all times, because inspiration can and will strike at the least expected time. Maybe you overhear a conversation, or you see someone rush for the train and you think, oh my god, why are they rushing? And you come up with an idea in your head, they're being chased by the Secret Service. And so these ideas will come to you, and the more you practice this creative process, the more often inspiration will strike. So keep the notebook with you and just write down everything. And ultimately, what you want at the end of this process, which could take days, weeks, or months, I don't think that this is going to take months or years for most people. It's likely days or weeks, but you never know, and you don't want to rush it, because this is going to be some of the great things that you want in your story. You're going to have some brilliant scene ideas, certain conversations you want to take place, a certain fight scene, and some other parts will be just completely lackluster, that you just know they're going to go into a castle, they're going to meet an orc, but you don't know how that's going to play out, and that's fine. Not everything needs to be detailed, we just need more. At the end of this, what we want to have is a beginning and a resolution. So we know where the story starts, and we know point B, where we need to end up, okay? And that is the important bit from the creative process. From here, we're going to go to stage 3. This is a bit more uniform. A lot of people don't like to do this, but trust me, forming a detailed synopsis for your book, a structure, a skeleton, is going to make the writing process much more enjoyable and much easier. If you just sit down and you just write and you just know the beginning and the end, then you're going to meander, there's going to be no pace to the story. Some people can write like that, but most people will suffer. So, let's just assume that you're one of the normal people and you need this structure. Just try it just once and see how you get on. So you've done your root idea, you've fleshed it out a bit, and now we're going to do my basic 3-point synopsis, which is just as simple as a sandwich. Beginning, middle, end. That's all we need. So we're going to write beginning, leave yourself a space, whether it's a word processor or in your notebook. Write beginning, middle, end, with big paragraph spaces in between. And then we're going to write a very brief overview of what happens in each point. So in the beginning, she lives with her bookish family, she dreams of becoming a knight, blah blah blah, and we get to the point where she's given the opportunity, okay? So the first story arc, something that happens to take her from her current world, as an academic, to her new world of trainee knight. Then the middle is going to be much bigger. The middle is going to involve everything that happens in the middle, all of the character building, all of the action scenes, how she saves not how she saves the prince, that'll probably be at the end, but how she, goes on the journey, gets her sword, meets her friends, fights some enemies, learns to be a warrior, discovers inner secret powers she didn't know she has. All of this is the meat of the story. It's the majority of the book for most books. And so from there, you write your middle. So all the ideas you have for things that are going to happen between the start and the end. And this bit may take a while. Don't rush it, If you need more time to come up with ideas, then take it. There is no time limit on writing your first book. Maybe on your later ones, where you've got an editor breathing down your neck saying, you must publish the sequel to this in 2 years or 3 months or whatever. But right now, take your time, make this amazing so that people want to publish it. And the end is, of course, your resolution. Sorry guys, I do have a tickle in my throat. Also actually have a tickle in my nose, so let's just get that done with. We're just done. Okay, so we've got the beginning, middle, and the end. And that's, that is our 3-point synopsis. From there, things become more structured. From there, we're just going to do a big leap. So we've got the beginning, middle, and end, and from there, we're going to do a chapter-by-chapter breakdown. So whereas this 3-point synopsis was probably a page to 2 pages, talking A4 with average size writing, the next one is probably going to be 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 pages, depending on how many chapters and how big your book is. But each chapter is going to be broken down into a paragraph or 2 or 3, depending on how long it is and how much stuff goes in. So just a simple idea. Okay, so the first chapter, she wakes up as an academic one day, she's dreaming of being a knight, and then an orc falls through her window, and this is, the cliffhanger at the end of the first chapter. So it's just going to be very basic, and you can put some specific wordings, conversations, etc., things you want to fill in when you write the chapter, but it's just a basic process, so you know where this chapter will begin and end, where the next chapter will begin and end, and how we are going to progress from chapter 1 to chapter 20 to chapter 30, however many chapters you have in your book. And you know, you've got a basic plan, not in any great detail, but a basic plan of what you need to write in each chapter. And really, that's the planning process over for me. There are many other schools of thought. I found a very cool one by another YouTuber. I believe her channel is Katy-tastic, K-A-T-Y-tastic, so it's Katy-tastic, which frustrates me because her name is Kat, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, check out her channel if you're not already aware of it. I believe it is just Katy-tastic. She had a great video which I saw a while ago about 3 into 3 into 3 into 3, basically. It's a 27 chapter outlining process that goes into a lot more detail than just saying write the chapters, but I'm just giving you the process I do. There are others, but I insist that you need at least this much of a structure when you come to write your book, because a book, especially a first book, needs to be a page turner. Every single page needs to convince the reader they want to keep reading, because you're going to be sending this to an agent or to a publisher who's never heard of you before, and you know, you're not J.K. Rowling, you're not George R.R. Martin, and you know that you're going to be one of thousands, if not millions, of manuscripts they receive every year. So you really need to make this book amazing if they're going to publish it, and for you to be proud of the work you've done. So you want that structure, so please do that. Once you have that structure, the actual process of writing begins, and it's really as simple as having your structure to hand. Reread chapter 1, you know, the paragraphs that tell you roughly what's going to happen, and write it. For me, I begin at the beginning and I move to the end. Some people like to jump. Personally, I don't. I think that things can get confused, and there's more editing to be done if you go from chapter 4 back to chapter 1, and so on and so forth. So I just go from chapter 1 to chapter the end, okay? And then once you have, you know, written out your chapters, then I would go back and do a first edit. So some people suggest that you put this aside for ages and write something else and then come back to it with fresh eyes, and that's fine if you wish to do that. But I think that most people just want to get a project, do a project, finish it, especially if you've never finished a manuscript before. So do an initial edit where you go through correct spelling, grammar, and sentences that just don't make sense, that you think, did I write this? This is terrible. Okay, you go back and you correct those. Then I would leave it a couple of weeks at least, and then do a second, more detailed edit. Again, we're just talking about minor things. If you see inconsistencies, fix them. If there are spelling or grammar or typos, fix them. And if you just think a sentence could be worded better and it just comes to you, write that, change it, do it. Then you go to a beta reading step. So you are then going to find people you trust, whether they are family members, friends, but people who aren't going to plagiarize your work, and get a couple of people, 2, 3 people, to read it. And on each chapter you want them to give you their favourite point, their least favourite point, and any things that didn't make sense or that they just didn't like. Get them to go through it, and then look at each of these chapter things, put them all, collate them all together. You don't have to take every edit, because you'll never please everyone. As long as you're happy with it, that's great. But you know, look at these, and if there's a theme that all of the people, the 3 beta readers, 4 beta readers, all say this bit of a chapter is crap or this bit is great, maybe expand on the great bit. Maybe get rid of the crap bit or change the crap bit. If a lot of people say a certain sentence doesn't make sense to them, but even if it makes sense to you, remember that you know because it's in your head before you wrote it, but it doesn't mean everyone else can follow your train of thought, so then rewrite that. And once you've done all of these edits, so you've gone through 3, 4, 5 edits perhaps in total, then you're going to have a finished manuscript. Then you are going to be in a position to send it to agents or publishers or self-publish, if that's the way you want to go. But that is going to take you from basic idea to finished book. And okay, It may take months, it may take years, or it may not take you that long. This works for novellas, which is actually what I write, or for full-length novels. Really, you don't need this much detail, I should imagine, to write a short story, but by all means feel free to try it out. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Sorry that it's been a long one, but writing a novel is a long process, and I didn't really want to miss anything out. So please do like and subscribe for more, and comment down below with anything you want to say or want to see in a future video. Thank you very much, and peace.